Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for joining us today for this important conversation about identity theft and fraud prevention. My name is Amy Wolf. I'm the programming director here at the Osterville Village Library. Welcome. Scams and financial crimes are becoming more sophisticated every day, affecting individuals, families, and communities across the country, and right here on Cape Cod. From phishing emails and phone scams to stolen identities and financial exploitation, criminals are constantly finding new ways to target people of all ages. The good news is that knowledge is one of the strongest tools we have to protect ourselves. Today, we are fortunate to hear from three professionals who work on the front lines of fraud prevention, investigation, and financial security. Please join me in welcoming Bruce Farrell of AARP, who has dedicated his efforts to educating consumers and advocating for fraud awareness. Detective Christopher Botsford of the Barnstable Police Department, who brings firsthand law enforcement experience investigating these crimes in our community, and Senior Financial Crimes Investigator Steve Barrett of Cape Cod 5, who works every day to help safeguard customers from financial fraud and emerging scams. Together, they will share practical advice, real-world examples, and steps each of us can take to better protect our personal information, finances, and loved ones.
Okay, welcome everybody, and I'm thrilled to be presenting here at the Osterville Village Library. So today's presentation is the AARP Broadwatch Network, the Scan Landscape Staying Safe. One thing I found out yesterday, late yesterday afternoon, and we didn't know this at AARP Massachusetts, but today is actually National Senior Fraud Awareness Day is observed today. So this is something that
It's also National Pizza Party Day, so.
Oh my gosh. I like that.
This is something that we just got wind of, and so we're here for the first AARP fraud presentation on National Senior Fraud Awareness Day. So here they're talking about established by the U.S. Congress, and it talks about scammers getting $36.5 billion from victims nationwide. Today we will talk about scam characteristics, how we react to scams, prevention strategies, and resources. So it's often thought that scammers will target senior citizens only. The reason for that is because for decades and decades, you have been diligent in working, saving your money, investing your money, and the like. But it turns out that younger people are more apt to get scammed than older people. The difference is that the senior citizens have more money, so it's more in the public eye. So younger people, 20 to 29, 44% of the time, they report losing money. Whereas senior citizens, 70 to 79 age group, 24%. So there is one scam that reaches, or maybe many scams, but one in particular I'm going to discuss right now, and it's the Department of Motor Vehicle Scams. Okay, you probably get a text message here and there about expired tolls, or you haven't paid your tolls, you haven't paid your parking tickets. Well, there's a new one coming out, and it started like 2 weeks ago, and it was in Denver. Okay, what ended up happening was 200 people went to the Denver Registry or Denver Courthouse to make sure that they didn't have to pay for these tickets. They didn't want them to have a license suspension or anything to that effect. Well, those 200 people were turned away because they were told it was all a scam. It's a scam. So this is a scam that I know hit California as well, so it's probably gonna start finding its way to Massachusetts. So just beware of a text, mostly text. But I don't know if they come in via email, but I would say it's mostly text. On this slide here, I am going to refer to Detective Chris Botsford from your Barnstable Police Department, on how come scams are underreported.
Good afternoon. So I'm just gonna give a little brief overview of my duties. I've been a police officer since 2011 and working in the investigative service division for about 3 years now. Most of my responsibilities at the Barnstable Police Department is fraud investigations, financial crimes. That's kind of my forte and specialty. But like Bruce was talking about, we're seeing or we're not seeing, there's an overwhelmingly amount of underreported scams and frauds that occur for a multitude of reasons. One of the biggest reasons that we're seeing is people are ashamed or embarrassed that it happened to them. It's unfortunate that it is a problem that has no boundaries and touches everybody. So whether you are personally affected by it, or somebody in your family, a friend that has been affected by a scam, it's widespread. So that is the biggest thing that we're seeing is it's underreported. So like Bruce talked about, that the younger generations are being scammed as well as the older generations, and like you said, so the younger generations, the teens, 20s, 30s, those people don't have as much available assets as the older community does. So what we're seeing is that the younger population, even though it's reported that they report more, my experiences and the reports that we're getting is more of the older population because of that huge financial loss that they're having. So for example, like in the high school age groups that we talk to as well, sextortion is a popular thing. If you're not familiar with it, it's basically you develop a online relationship with somebody, your age group, it's usually an adult or somebody that's claiming to be relatively in a younger age. You end up over at some point in time exchanging nude photos or videos to that person, and then they turn around, basically blackmail you, telling you, hey, we're going to send this to all your contacts, your family, friends, if you don't give us money. And then unfortunately, these kids, like, they think their life's ruined. They either are stealing their parents' credit cards, paying, whatever the fee is, and the person on the other end is just going to keep digging for more and more money until they run out. It's a real tragedy because the suicide rate directly related to sextortion cases is through the roof. These kids, they think that their world is over. We don't have a slide up here, but statistically, these kids are taking their own lives because of these instances. We've seen, not here in Barnstable, but the reports that kids are communicating with somebody online. They end up sending a nude image or video to this person, and then within 11 minutes, they're committing suicide from that interaction because they think their world is over. So it's pretty tragic. So reporting is huge. So not only do you want to report, if you live in Barnstable, report to us, but also we're going to advise you to report to the FBI. So ic3.gov is a FBI website that basically catalogs and stores records of scams throughout the country. So we as law enforcement can use that on the back end to find and identify potential victims in other areas. Quick story, Steve recently retired from the Barnstable Police as a detective and is now working at Cape Cod 5. So he discovered a $200,000 wire transfer that came in the Cape Cod 5 account. They flagged it as suspicious. Do an investigation. He gave me that information, and we determined that the victim of a fraud in California was actually defrauded for $279,000 wiring money to a TD bank account and then try to get to Cape Cod 5. So Steve was able to freeze that account and we were able to get the money back. So using that IC3 report, I was able to put in the account numbers from the wire transfer, and that's how we were able to find the victim in California. So it's a great resource to have. It's simple. It's the letter I, C3.gov.
Three, not big.
The number 3, yeah. So the letter I, the letter C, the number 3.gov.
And that's the United States.
Yep, that's the FBI's database for online cyber fraud investigations.
Okay, here we talk about frequently reported scams. This is a pretty busy section here. So, imposter scams. You may get a call, somebody impersonating Social Security, Medicare, and or the IRS. One important thing, I've had a discussion already today about not picking up the call from any number that is not in your contact list. The number is not in your contact list, let that number ring, and if it's important, they'll leave a voicemail. Okay, I can't stress that enough. It just, for reasons outside of not knowing that number, but we'll get to this point later on with AI, because with AI and voice cloning, they can record your voice. So I'm going to get to that later on in this presentation. So, the best thing to do, not pick up the phone. But if you do pick up the phone, you need to make sure that you're talking to someone from the trusted organization. Like the police department, Medicare, Social Security, and the like. They may go ahead and heighten your emotions. We're going to talk about getting the victim under the ether a little bit later on in this presentation, where they're going to try to get you into an irrational state of mind. Hi there.
How do you know they're from the organization if they're just scamming, but they don't just say they are and not?
Could you repeat that? I'm
How
sorry.
do you know they're from, say, Medicaid or Medicare?
Well,
whatever?
they
Just
might
give
go
a
ahead
name.
and pick up the phone, they say, well, this is Medicare, and they'll even ask you for your account number. Now, if they're from Medicare and they're calling you, they should know your account number, right? So
Okay.
you would think.
Yeah, those places, they're not calling you. Same with banks and other organizations. They're not calling you, to chat up a conversation and find out how your day is going.
Social Security too.
Yeah. So all those, like Bruce said, like if you don't recognize that phone number, and we've seen it in the older generations that everybody had a house phone, right? So, you could probably count on 2 hands how many people had your house phone number. And when you answer the phone, it was your neighbor, your cousin, your sister, somebody that you knew. And it's that Pavlov's cycle that the phone rings, you answer, the phone rings, you answer it. And now it's come into the sense that your cell phone rings and you just automatically answer it because you've been trained your whole life that when the phone rings to answer it, even if you don't know who it is. So that's the biggest thing that I can stress is like you said, if that number doesn't pop up as, your friend, your son or daughter, like just don't answer it.
What
If
about they leave a message?
I can, so
No?
1000% of these scams have never left a message, and I can tell you why. So they're a majority of all these robocalls are generated through computers. So they're giant computer databases that have thousands and thousands of phone numbers that someone just presses a button and it just sends a call out to that. So the only way, like if you can detect it and you can figure it out, is that if you pick up one of these calls, it usually takes a few seconds for like a human being to like answer. So it's triggering that, okay, someone picked up that line, it's going to send, a message to the operator, like, hey, somebody pick up this number now, you need to pick up and actually talk to the person. So those robocalls are never going to leave voice messages. And I can't think of any situation where a real company is going to leave you a voice message. And if they do, it's very slim that it's a scammer leaving a message because they have thousands of other people to try to scam. They're not going to waste their time like leaving a message. Um,
Bank impersonation scam, would you like to handle this, or should we wait for,
No, I could talk about that. So again, we get a lot of these as well. People will get the text message say, hey, this is, we use Cape Cod 5 for an example since it's here, but it's usually not them. We detected some fraudulent activity on your account, call this number. The banks aren't going to provide you a phone number in a text message to call that number. Our suggestion and the bank's suggestion is just call the number on the back of your debit card or your credit card. Or even better, if you do a local banking, just go to your banking center and talk to somebody in person. Banks aren't in the business of just again reaching out to their customers for to shoot the proverbial poop and talk to you about whatever's going on. Legitimate fraud alerts, you're just going to get a text message from your banking center, hey, the charge this amount, and that's it. And then it's on you to actually call your bank to report it. They're never gonna send you a phone number to call or an email back. There are a bunch of ways you can tell, especially text messages, like what number is sending it. If it's if it's like a +44 or a plus whatever, that's not in this country. Those are out of country codes. So these are originating from other countries to begin with. If you get a text message that's claiming to be a bank and it's from like a yahoo.com email address, that's not legitimate either. There are we can go on for days and days, a multitude of red flags that are, obvious signs that this is a scam.
Should
But-
we just delete it?
Yeah.
Or
So-
should we put it in?
Yeah, so if you go in, and if you get like a text message, I probably have one somewhere today. But if you go, sorry, I just did one now. So when you go to delete it, it'll give you the option to delete or then delete and report junk. Stuff like that, I usually will delete and report junk because it'll send it to Apple. Unfortunately, they'll put it in a database to try to block those numbers from repeating. But like I said, everything's computer generated, so you can get a message today that tomorrow it's going to come from. It's going to be the same message. It's going to come from a different number, a different platform.
What about home phones? They don't even leave a message.
Yeah, just let it ring off hook. Better yet, just unplug it and toss it in the closet. But again, more days now they're sending it to, and again, these scammers don't know whether it's a home phone or cell phone. Majority of people nowadays have cell phones, so that's the information that they're putting out to everybody's information is available for cost. So that's how people's information get in the hands of scammers. So once you sign up for whatever service, you put your name, your address, phone number, all that stuff is being sold to data brokers, and then data brokers are either getting their systems leaked out or they're turning around selling out on the dark web, and then scammers are they literally buy terabytes and terabytes of information. And it's tough if you think about it, like if you get a fraudulent charge on your credit card, you're kind of racking your brain, but like, well, when did I use it, or who had access to it last? Like your credit card information could have been stolen last year, and somebody's just been sitting on it for a year, and then finally it gets sold in the dark web. Somebody buys 20 credit card numbers for $10 on the dark web, and then they're just trying to use those cards online to make purchases until it gets flagged as stolen. So there's not really a hardened time on when you can find that information has been leaked out. So my best suggestion is to contact your bank directly. Just call the number on the back of the bank card, go into the banking center, talk to somebody there.
You get these calls that said you're allowed such and such money for loan or whatever. Get them.
Yep, just hang up.
Yeah.
If somebody wants to give me $1 million and
Yeah.
they clearly have my address, they can show up with a briefcase full of money. Yeah, it's tough. They're getting better and better. Like Bruce is saying, there's urgency in all their messages. It's literally a script. They're acting. They have a script that they're reading through. They want to push the urgency. They want to put a little bit of fear. Another one that we've seen is like the arrest warrants that are going around. Like, hey, you have an arrest warrant. If you don't pay $1,000, we're going to come arrest you. we've never like called somebody and give them a heads up that we're coming to arrest them. We just show up and arrest them. You can't pay to get out of an arrest warrant. Yeah. I think that's it on this part.
Tech support scams. Okay. So let's say you have a laptop at home, a desktop computer, and you see the pop-ups. You'll see a pop-up that has, says, click this link and we'll fix your problem by clicking the link. Click the link, they're probably installing some malware. Or you have another pop-up that says, call this number and we'll fix your problem for you. Well, if you call that number, they're gonna want access to your computer to fix your problem. No, they're not gonna fix your problem. Basically, what they're searching for is personal and financial information. One thing that I'll probably mention a few times today in this presentation is personal information and financial information, which you need to guard very, very seriously. But what do you do when you get the pop-ups? You should go ahead and reboot your machine. Those pop-ups will go away. And the next step would probably be to go to a reputable computer service company to maybe have that computer, the laptop, sanitized. I used to get the pop-ups years ago. I never responded to them. I knew it was a scam. But once I installed McAfee antivirus software, I stopped getting those scams, those type of text messages. So I think, McAfee and Norton, they're blocking that. I can't say that for a fact, but I suspect that that's what's happening there. It's important to go ahead and also turn on automatic update for antivirus software. I did that for McAfee 2 days ago. Yeah, so they may ask for remote access to your computer and install malware to steal information. And another thing to be wary of is there are services out there such as Log Me In, Remote PC, TeamViewer. So a scammer could come on the phone with you and say, we need access to your computer to fix your problem. They'll say, you need to download TeamViewer, say, and they will go ahead and use the TeamViewer link on their end to make a remote connection to your computer. So, that's another way that they will go ahead and try to get into your computer to get your personal as well as financial information. Yeah, so it's, just be wary. They're not good people out there.
So one of those things, if you find yourself in the middle of one of those scams and the person is already remoted in your computer, just disconnect it from your network. So if you're on Wi-Fi, turn off your Wi-Fi. If you're on a desktop and you're hard plugged into your Ethernet cable, just pull that out. It'll break that connection. And yeah, get that computer somewhere reputable to get it cleaned out.
Yeah,
So when do you do that? When you know that they're.
Yeah, if you're like 50% already like gave them access to your computer and you're like, oh crap, what do I do now? Disconnect your network because that'll drop the remote connection. So those pop-ups are something that you've downloaded, and again, those are usually executable commands that have been downloaded from either an email that you got and you click the link somewhere and it's downloaded to your computer and it's been sitting dormant in your computer for days, weeks, months. And then it has a built-in timer that after this many seconds, it's gonna pop up, and that's the pop-up that's gonna pop up on your screen, prompting you to either call a phone number, click a link or something. So it's probably something, or definitely something that you downloaded inadvertently through an email or some other link or website that you've visited at some point.
Financial grooming scams, and if you look in the far right corner, lower far right, you'll see the reference to ic3.gov that Chris mentioned earlier. Chris and I were in contact via email, and Chris, you feel as though you'd like to present on this slide, or?
Yeah, so we get the romance scams is what we call it. It's kind of changed terminology to relationship scams. They usually generate through some sort of social media platform, whether it's Facebook or Instagram. And we're seeing a lot with the older community that's either somebody who's living by themselves, they've had a loved one that they've lost recently, and they're just looking for some sort of somebody to talk to. That's why it's kind of important, especially if you have people in your family that you don't reach out to, reach out to them, because if they're not getting that contact from somebody that they know, they're going to go seek it somewhere else. And this is where we're finding they're seeking out online. And these people that are claiming to be so and so, they live in this area, it's all BS, it's all stuff they're just making up. And again, these are usually long-term scams that take over. I'm working a case right now where we identify what we call a money mule. It's basically somebody who's been roped into a relationship scam. She's been in a scam or in this relationship for 5 years now, and she's been funneling illegal assets through her bank accounts and then directing them off to other different people involved in the scam. So they think, they talk to somebody. That's the thing. If you're, home alone by yourself and somebody is willing to talk to you for 6 hours a day online, you don't know who it is. They're going to say they're, John Smith from Texas. But it's more than likely somebody
from overseas, foreign entities that are doing that.
Most of the scams are usually coming from overseas, but they're gonna, impersonate people that can be locally too. So my specific case that I'm working right now, the victims in Florida, she's been communicating with a guy who lived in Texas. The actual person in Texas had his Facebook account taken over by a scammer. So now this person is saying that they're stuck in the UK. They can't get back to the United States. They lost their passport and all this stuff. They're trying to get back. She's been sending money to his attorney in the UK. And then he has been sending her wire transfers, or she's been actually opening up fraudulent bank accounts under like bogus business names that he can send money to her. It's very elaborate, but again, these relationship scams are usually long-term, over a long period of time, rather than like, hey, click this link and send me all your money. So that's the thing. If you have friends that are, by themselves, reach out to them, have some communication, stay in their lives. Like my partner Steve would say, like, check up on your parents, because you kind of have that feeling when something's off with somebody, especially a friend or somebody that you have, a long relationship with. You can kind of tell when things are off. Like if I called my mom and she's like, oh yeah, I was like, what'd you do today? I'm like, oh, I went to the bank a couple times. I'm like, well, why are you going to the bank a couple times? Like, you don't do that. So just ask these questions. Just stay involved with people's lives. That's basically what it is, because if they're not finding that relationship, or that communication locally, they're going to seek it somewhere else if that's something that they're needing for themselves. And unfortunately, these people will take advantage of that quite too often.
So I heard the story, and this was about maybe 6 months ago. There was a woman in France that thought she was being befriended by the actor Brad Pitt. And $400,000 in US currency, she realized that she was a victim. So she was this Brad Pitt impersonator financially grooming her to funnel her money up to $400,000 of US currency.
Yeah, sometimes they'll send out the very notorious investment scams, or like I want to invest with Elon Musk or some other very notable person, like those are huge red flags. But it's unfortunate that some people fall for that. And they want to get involved in it, and once they're involved in it, it's sometimes too late. It's difficult as far as we do, as of, I can't remember the start date. I believe it was sometime in 2025. I've recovered just a little over $500,000 in victims' funds from scams. But not all of it is going to be able to get recovered. Some of that money gets converted into cryptocurrency, which we'll maybe talk about in a little bit. And a lot of these funds are going overseas, and once they go into foreign banks or into cryptocurrencies, it's a lot more difficult to recover assets that way. So.
The dark side of AI here. So, a big reason why you should never, ever pick up the phone unless you know the number is AI and voice cloning. If you have given, like a scammer, criminal, 10 seconds or so of your voice, they can create long-running dialogues and conversations using that voice. So I'm going to bring up the story of the grandparent scam, use that as an example. So, you have a grandchild. The grandchild picks up the call from an unknown number. The individual criminal on the other end has your grandchild on the phone for, let's say, 30 seconds. They're recording that voice. They're cloning that voice. So then what happens is the scammers, the criminals, will use social media and say, oh, so this grandchild is a relative of this grandparent. Oh, we have the number for the grandparent. So what they will do is they will call the grandparent and say, we have your grandchild in jail. And you need to give us bail money to get your grandchild out of jail. Now, with the voice cloning, they'll put the grandchild on the phone. And it's going to sound so authentic and real that the grandparents believe that their grandchild is actually in big trouble. So, AARP and other agencies recommend the use of a safe word. And this safe word would be used and known by the parents, the grandparents, and the grandchildren. If it ever so happens that you, a family member, or whatever, are in this situation, and the criminals don't know that safe word, what you'll hear is a click, and you'll disconnect the call. So that's the story with AI and voice cloning. That's the best story I have, best explanation, but it's really one of the reasons why you should only pick up the number from the call from the number.
What was that you said, a safe what? Safe word.
Say that again, please.
Safe word, when would you say the safe word?
Oh, you use the safe word like, I love my grandchildren, you know, and if the scammer doesn't know the safe word, and they won't,
How will that come up? What the fuck does it-
you're going to say to the
Oh.
scammer, the criminal, who says, okay, if this is legit, what is the safe word?
Okay.
They could ask the grandchild, what is that safe word?
Okay.
So that's very, very important.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's something that you'd want to set up, obviously, in advance of something catastrophic like this happening. So, I mean, it could be pineapple, like just
Right.
a word that you and your close family.
No, where
Yep.
So we're going to also talk about fraudulent texts and emails. I'm going to talk about email specifically here, and the fact that I'm not sure if this is AI generated. I believe it actually is. So periodically, what I will get in my inbox, in email, is a email with the subject line of invoice followed by an invoice number. Now, I know my bills are paid. Okay, I know who I owe money to, so I suspect that this is a scam. So I don't open up the body of the message, because if I opened up the body of the message, it's probably like a PDF, and I don't wanna open up the PDF because if I download some virus or something like that. What I do is I go to the sender's name on the email, and I hover over that sender's name. And it's never from a legitimate company like Eversource.com, Xfinity.com, or HomeDepot.com. It's generally a Gmail account. And, you know, so I know it's a scam. I've known this is a scam for quite some time. You mark that email as spam, go to your spam folder, empty your spam folder, and hopefully you never get it. Talk about photographic like images and fake videos. If you have a social media account and your profile on that social media account has your picture, what scammers can do is take a picture of your social media account of that photo and create long-running, unflattering videos using that picture, as well as unflattering photos as well. And they will say to you, if you don't give us money in crypto or wire transfers or the like, we are going to send this information off to those in your contact list. So, just something to be wary of. I only have one social media account, and that is LinkedIn, whereby I get a lot of information on fraud. I follow the FBI and the like. So that's where I get a lot of my knowledge, following FBI.
Just a little quick fun thing, right before we started this, I took a picture from the back of the class. And with AI, within like 3 seconds, I generated, this is what I'm gonna post on our website, because it looks like there's a couple hundred people in here now, so it makes it look like we're doing a little bit better than they are. So just, again, a quick photo makes it, makes it look like the class is a little bit bigger than it is. So, AI is used for good and bad. But like I said, it doesn't take much to make something appear like it actually is in reality.
Yeah, bigger crowd than I expected.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can report back, yeah, there was like 200 people here, here's the picture.
So instantly created fake websites. Be careful of this too. So let's say you want to go to Eversource.com, you want to check on a bill or something to that effect. Sometimes people will use a Google search or a Bing search to search for how to get to Eversource.com if you don't know the address right off that. And that could bring you to a rogue address. So what I going to speak of specifically here is go to the site explicitly, Eversource.com. Just make sure you're always on like Eversource.com, HomeDepot.com, Xfinity.com, and the like. That's very, very important. And also, I'm going to talk briefly about typo squatting. Okay, so you have a fictional company called Acme, Acme.com. Okay, and there's a letter M in active. Okay, what scammers will do is they will go ahead and try to create a website similar to Acme.com, but what they're going to do is they're going to take out the letter M. Okay, and then what they're going to do is substitute the letter N with the letters R and N. If you put the R and the N next to each other, it looks like an M. I didn't pick this up right off the bat. I get this information from LinkedIn, actually. So, what I've been doing ever since I've noticed that is for anything with my financial accounts, banks, financial planners, and the like, I always enter in the name manually. So let's say I have a Fidelity account. I will go to fidelity.com. I'm not clicking on a saved link. I'm not clicking on an email. I'm not going to a text. I'm always entering that information from the URL. And by the URL, that's where you enter in the site that you want to go to.
So similar to that, I had a case where somebody in town was communicating with their accountant for their business, and at some point, a scammer got a hold of his email address and then created another Gmail address that added one extra digit in the email address, and then started communicating with the accountant and basically writing to the accountant with the fake bogus email address, sending them invoices for them to pay out. So you gotta be careful of even that, like even if you get emails from your friends, make sure, the email address is correct. So one little digit could be off or added or replaced with something else to make it visually, like you look at it quick and it looks like, your kid's email address. But if you, again, there's ways to conceal the true email address. So like Bruce said, if you hover over an email address, it'll pop up where the actual email is coming from. So in this case, that's what it was. So she was getting emails from her client, but after reviewing the email address, an extra digit was added in that she didn't pick up for a long time, and it's too late.
Payment method, popular with criminals, bank transfers, crypto, we'll be discussing crypto soon, wire transfers, money orders, and the like. Gift cards.
So gift cards were a thing. We're not seeing that too much nowadays, but gift cards were a huge form of payment that people were requesting. If you think about it, like no legitimate business like Eversource or Comcast, like you're not going to be paying your utility bills with gift cards from, CVS or Stop and Shop. Like it just doesn't make sense. But this is that urgency. This is the script that the scammers are relaying to their victims is, you need to give us, $1,000 in Apple gift cards or we're going to shut your gas off. Like people are like, oh, I don't want to lose my gas. And it's, that's a frightening thing. So they run out to the grocery store. They might go to CVS, Walgreens, a couple of different places. They get these gift cards. And then once you give that gift card number to the scammer, like it's like cash, it's gone forever. There's no way to get that stuff back. They still haven't, not as frequently as much. We're seeing a lot of like wire transfers now, which is a big thing because once that wire transfer goes through, like once it drops into that other bank account, the person who has control of that usually they'll move it to another bank as soon as the money goes in. And for whatever reason, like local banks are pretty good. Other banks, larger banks are a pain in the butt to deal with when it comes to law enforcement. If we would to call them is a hassle in itself just to get in touch with a live person to say, hey, this wire transfer is fraudulent. The banking system internally has messaging systems that they can message other banks. So sometimes, depending on the hour of the day, those messages might not be received for 2 or 3 days on the other end. And by then, the money's already been wired off to somewhere else. So yeah, gift cards virtually untraceable. They can't be recovered. My father-in-law actually got scammed into a gift card scam, and I was lucky enough that the scammer I checked the balances on the cards, they hadn't been used yet. There's a website that I've used in the past that you can basically convert unused gift cards into Visa debit cards. So you basically sell them your unused gift card and they'll give you a Visa debit card they'll take a portion off the top, but I was able to get a majority of his money back that way.
So they're harder to get your money back.
Yeah, it's like cash. Once somebody has that gift card number and it's used, it's gone. That's what like you'll see on the back that it's, explicitly says like treat this like cash because once you lose the gift card, there's no way to track like who has possession of it, who used it, where it was used. Um, and yeah, it's not a legitimate form of payment. Unless you're using an Apple gift card for Apple stuff, like that's the only legitimate thing. And I talk about that in our presentations. Like if you're getting gift cards, like the only time I can see a legitimate purpose if you're getting a gift card for your like grandkids, your kids, nephews, nieces, whatever, for a birthday or holiday, something like that, you're physically giving them the card in person. But if somebody's asking you to go get gift cards and then asking you what the gift card numbers are over the phone or through text message, that's 1,000% a scam.
Mentioned, just, not that I want to destroy the gift card market, but I bought gift cards at CVS in Marston's Mills. And I sent them to Florida or somebody, by the time they got to Florida, they were completely empty.
Yeah, so another scam is people are going into CVS or wherever, like all these gift cards are just, sitting on the shelves blank. So I could go in there today, take a picture of 15 different barcodes, and then I can just go on the app in a couple of days. They're like, oh, did anybody buy this? Check the balance. So that's the thing. You scan in $500 in a gift card, and I'm going to check the balance. I already have the gift card number. I'm going to go and spend it before you get a chance to spend it. So again, it's even a gamble doing that. Unfortunately, like if scammers took like just a small percentage of the amount of efforts that they put into these scams into like productive things in society, like we could be a lot better. But it's unfortunately it's super easy to do, and this is their full-time job.
Do we have any idea how much money these individuals make?
Billions.
I mean, on an individual basis? Do they-
On themselves personally, how much they're making.
Yeah,
No, I mean, so I can tell you that some of these scammers are being forced into this. There are call centers in China and India that are basically kidnapping people and forcing them to be scammers at like concentration camps. There's international law enforcement agencies that have taken these places down, but they just pop up somewhere else. Most of these scams, like the legitimate big ones, are happening overseas. And the way that, there might be, we'll take the grandparent scam. Say that somebody has this scam going on. There might be a handful of people that are at the top of the pyramid that are running this thing, and then they're going to farm out work to other handlers to either gather information. It's a full-time job. They're going to have people that are going to try to source people's information. They're going to have people that are working for them that are going to do the calls, that are sending the text message out. Then they're going to have people that are going to be answering the calls when they come in to like run the scripts. Then they're going to have what we call the money mules, the unbeknownst victims in the U.S. that are being used to funnel legal assets through their legitimate bank accounts to do that. So they're going to be people like this guy that I talked about in the UK. Like this scammer is handling a bunch of money mules in the US. Like, hey, you need to open this account. You need to open this account. Hey, I'm sending you money here. You need to direct it to this. It's a huge operation. So to answer the question of like, there's no real known answer of like how much one individual in this ginormous organization is making. Again, they could be forced to do that. They could be threatened, like, if you don't do this, we're going to kill you. We're going to kill your family. So obviously they're not doing this for pleasure. They're doing this for their life.
I'm gonna break into that a bit here. There's a group run by a woman out of California, and it's called Operation Shamrock. The woman's name is Erin West, and she is a former law enforcement executive from California. And I got on a call, an AARP national call, and we were informed that in Cambodia, the GDP of Cambodia is 50% from scams. So the GDP, gross domestic product, is 50% scam, if not maybe even a little bit more. So that just goes to show you how big it all is. Here we're gonna talk about, crypto and fraud. Anybody here have crypto? No? Oh,
Keep it
that's
that way.
good. Yeah, good job.
I don't
Good
know.
job, yeah, but it's still important to talk about it. Crypto is a digital currency. I like to call it also maybe like a virtual currency. And there's a lot of crypto scams going out there where the criminal will go ahead and get on the phone with the intended victim and have that intended victim go to a crypto ATM and funnel money into the ATM. I've heard as much as $40,000 by one person. So the state of Massachusetts, and if everybody could turn to the last page of their booklet. One thing, two, good. Okay, so the state of Massachusetts has House Bill 1247, which was initially going to be for regulation of the crypto kiosks. But following the lead of the state of Indiana, which was the first in the nation to totally ban these kiosks, then came Tennessee, Minnesota. So Massachusetts going to go ahead in their legislation, our legislature, is going to go ahead and vote on this. Let's hope they vote to ban the kiosk. So what I encourage you to do is to contact your state representative, named Kip Diggs, and say that you endorse the banning of these kiosks statewide. As well as please contact the House Committee on Ways and Means and say that you favorably pass. You're looking for the state to favorably get rid and ban the kiosks. So if you could kindly go ahead and do that. I live in Dennis. I've done that for my state rep and also the Health Ways and Means Committee as well. So I think it's important, the more that we get the word out. Now, if the bill does pass, and I'm sure it will, that doesn't mean that you're totally safe. Although I believe Barnstable County is probably one of the safest counties for that. I just did a presentation on Wednesday in Provincetown. Now, what a scammer will do is say, well, you can go to Rhode Island and put in money to crypto ATM there. Now, I don't think anybody in their right mind is gonna travel from Provincetown to Rhode Island to put money. On the way, they're gonna go ahead and think, this is a scam. I would leave so. But anyway,
Yeah, so I mean, we have police department dealt with this numerous. There's dozens and dozens of these crypto ATMs in our town. They look like a standalone ATM machine. They'll have some Bitcoin and some cryptocurrency logos on it to differentiate that from a regular ATM. But these are there's nothing beneficial about these. There's no legitimate purpose other than the fact that it's scamming people, because anybody that does any legitimate cryptocurrency investments, trading, anything like that, they're going to use other platforms. There's apps out there that they're going to use because it only takes a certain percentage of your transactions, where these crypto ATMs are taking up to 20 to 30% of your money that you deposit in there as a fee for the transactions. And that's, if you're doing investing and you're losing 30%, you're investing poorly.
When people do that, are they thinking they're investing in crypto? Is that why they're putting cash or money?
They could, there's a litany of reasons why they're doing that, whether they're thinking they're investing in crypto. Somebody has like, hey, this is, Brad Pitt, I want you to come and invest with me, go down to your local, they have the addresses, they know where these ATMs, they're publicly available online to find out where they are. They know where the victims are. Like, hey, go to the Cape Cod Mall, there's a crypto ATM in there, go deposit, $5,000, and they give them a wallet address, which is the cryptocurrency address that they send it to. It's a 16-digit alphanumeric code that belongs to the scammer. And they'll instruct them to go down there, deposit the money in there, you scan the wallet address that they've given you, and then off it goes the ether. We're seeing a lot of the money mules that I talked about are the unknowingly complicit people in these larger operation scams that are being used to set up wallet addresses to receive funds and then instructed to forward them off to somebody else. If you've ever gotten the job recruitment text messages, that's like 1000% a scam investment money mule tactic. So they'll send out a message like, hey, I'm Alexa from Amazon. You know, you can work from home for 2 hours a week and make $600. They're going to have you set up an online account. They'll probably have you set up crypto account to get paid. And then they're going to use your legitimate crypto account that you just created to funnel the stolen funds from somebody else that deposited it into a crypto ATM into your wallet. And then they're going to say, hey, take, you know, you just made, you know, $300 today in Bitcoin for doing your work or whatever. Send it off to somebody else, or send a portion off to somebody else. One guy in town was a victim of this as a mule, and his job was to review online companies that he's never used any of their services for to get payment. So I think he like went on their website and like sent them like you're doing a great job. I had you over to do whatever. So that was his payment. But they're using everyday people to exploit their criminal enterprise that way.
How can they allow the ATM to be?
So the way that it works, typically they're in convenience stores. So the crypto ATM, the people that own the crypto ATMs, they will sell them, or actually they'll pay shopkeepers to have them in the businesses. So say I own, you know, a convenience store down the street. I want to have a crypto ATM in my store. I'm going to get, you know, $200 a month just to have that thing sit in the back corner collecting dust. So it's like, hey, it's easy income for me. I don't have to maintain it. I don't have to do anything. I get paid to have it in here.
But they're not considered complicit because it's not illegal to have.
Yeah, it's not illegal to have a physical machine in here because, I mean, if you can do legitimate crypto trading on it, again, they take a huge percentage right off the top. It's kind of pointless to do that. But there's nothing illegal, and that's why they're trying to pass the legislation. Initially, it was like, all right, we need to make regulations. Like if somebody deposits, you know, money in there, give 48 hours, they can report to law enforcement, report to the crypto companies to get their funds back. But now it's just like there's no legitimate purpose. It's just completely ban it. Like think it like the back in the day when you see the giant white van like roll up and stop in front of your house, like the stranger danger thing. Like you see one of these crypto machines, like think of it as like stranger danger, like run away from that thing.
It's locked.
Yeah.
It's all crypto.
No, I mean a lot of international companies are using it for purchasing legitimate products and business wise. So it's not all illegal assets. There's definitely a lot of criminality that's involved with it because it's the virtual currency. It's very difficult to trace and track. We have software that we can see where the funds go, but usually once you start tracing it, it'll change to 10 different wallets. It'll convert to different virtual currencies. It usually all ends up back in the same account. It 99.9% of the time ends up in another country. And a lot of these cryptocurrency companies are based in foreign countries, and a lot of them do not like law enforcement and do not cooperate with us for anything. They'll try to get legal process or records information from account holders is difficult.
I'm hard to know what the good one is in the crypto.
Just don't use it. If you have at this point in your life,
I know a couple of people.
yeah, if you haven't, like, you need to have a solid understanding. I bought $10 worth of crypto just to kind of get my feet wet and see like where things go. I've made like $1. But if you have, I mean, you've got to have somebody that's seriously invested in this to understand the ins and outs of it.
I know two people, I think that they put a bit.
Yeah, I mean, if
And
you
one went to Boston.
oh, if they're putting into a crypto ATM machine, that's 1000% a scam. Yeah,
Okay, why scam succeed? Basically, what the scammers will do is play with your emotions. They will get you into what we call the ether. And basically, they're gonna go ahead and play with your rational mindset. They are gonna put you in a state of fear. They will get you depressed, distressed, confused. So much so that you succumb to their pressures and you give them their personal and financial information. Fake credibility, we talked about banks, well-known businesses, Medicare, Social Security, but also they might want to gain a relationship with you, like they might see on social media page that you were in the Navy or something to that effect, and they'll say, oh, I was in the Navy as well. So they'll create that bonding with you, that relationship with you, so much so that over the course of time, and this could probably be like financial grooming as well, over the course of time, you're gonna have enough confidence in these individuals because they're now your so-called friends that will soon disappear, that you will give them your personal and financial information.
yeah, if any of you guys have like social media accounts, Facebook, Snapchat, whatever, if you're on, just restrict that to private only. Like, there's no reason to have it public and anybody in the world can get that information. It's great for me as an investigator because if I'm looking at a target for something and then I go to their friends list and see they have their grandma attached to it, then I just jump on her page because I know 99% it's not private. So then I can see a lot more information on her account that I might need for my investigation versus my target
So how do you
profile.
keep your Facebook account?
It's all just in your settings, literally just a toggle switch. It'll be private. So if, you know, like my personal Facebook accounts and Instagram is not my real name. It's a BS name. I also have accounts for work that I use for undercover stuff. And it's like none of my work ones are public because I want people to friend me and befriend me and trust me, and then it'll help me in my investigations. But yeah, you just go into your settings and you can literally just toggle make private, and the only thing that would be publicly available would be like your name and your profile picture, which I don't suggest putting your personal profile picture on there.
No, so, and, I don't know if anybody here, belongs to LinkedIn, but I am totally anonymous on LinkedIn. I don't want people to know me. I have 500 plus connections. That's enough for now, and I'm not gonna go out and increase my connection. I am just totally locked down that account. For good reason, I think. I do it more for search than I do for the personal connection with other individuals. Because I'm retired, I'm not looking for a job anymore. Thankfully, I'm retired. Top scammer strategies, manipulating your emotions to overwhelm logical thought. So great investment opportunity, but the list goes on and on. Remember, the longer you interact with a scammer, the better they get to know your emotional triggers. So the best thing to do is do not engage. Let's see here. So at AARP, we have this slogan. It's new for 2026, and it's called Pause, Reflect, and Protect. So I'm going to go back to that example that I gave earlier about the email and hovering over that email. So, as you know, I get emails periodically. I know they're scams, but it's still checked out. And what I do is I don't open up the body of the message. I basically go to the sender's address, well, the sender's name without opening up their information. And I hover over that information. So there, I'm kind of like, after I pause, I'm reflecting and I'm telling myself, by pausing, I'm saying, is this really a legit email? More than often, in this case, no. So by reflecting, I'm saying, well, I gotta check this out. Is it a scam or is it not? In this case here, it's a scam. So what am I doing? I'm protecting. So that's a nutshell type of thing that I'm saying here is you gotta pause. Definitely pause. It's easier to pause with email than it is with a cell phone call coming in. Because in natural reaction, sometimes it says, oh, I'll just pick up the phone. But you don't want to do that. Fraud prevention strategies. Better passwords. Password 123 is not a good password. And it's not a good idea to go ahead and write your password on a piece of paper. What I do is I put my password on a USB drive. And my passwords, and I have a backup USB drive. And, you know, so with USB, you don't know when it's gonna fail. So I always copy the password to the backup USB drive. Multi-factor authentication. Critical for any of your financial accounts. And I use it for the one social media account that I have as well, which is LinkedIn. Review your credit report and initiate a credit freeze or alert. Does anyone here, have you frozen your credit file with a free reporting agency? Yes, I think everybody should do that. So if you turn to page 20, I think, of the visual here, the booklet. Page 20. You have the free reporting agency, Experian, which I have an account for, and I can only speak for Experian because I have the account. You have Equifax and you have TransUnion. So if you ever wanted to do a credit freeze, you need to contact those people, those companies. I was able to go ahead and freeze the accounts for my wife and I online, so I didn't really have to do the phone call. But the advantage of doing the credit freeze is no one would be able to open up a credit card or a auto loan because your credit file is gone. But let's say that you want to unlock your credit file for those accounts because you have to buy a new car or you want to buy a new car. So buy a new car, go through the process of getting the loan if you are indeed doing a loan. And once you get that loan taken care of, go back and freeze the credit file again. I am more a fan of the credit freeze as opposed to a credit file. I'm sorry, a fraud alert. There's also a fraud alert. I'm going to read this verbatim here. Basically, a fraud alert is a notice placed on your credit report that warns creditors to take extra steps to verify your identity before you issue a new credit. It serves as a red flag for potential identity theft. Yeah, I think a credit freeze is the best way. That's my personal opinion.
To also just touch on that, you can also lock your debit and credit cards. Like my wife and I, we have an emergency credit card that we literally just keep in a drawer for whatever reason for emergency. But I have that account locked. So if somebody were to get a hold of it or that number gets leaked somewhere, they can't use it because it's locked. The same thing with my debit cards and the credit cards that I carry around daily. I have those locked because 99% I'm using Apple Pay to make payments. So I can still have those card numbers locked and still be able to use Apple Pay and the tap to pay, because when you upload a debit or a credit card number to Apple Pay, it basically obfuscates the true identity of the card number and creates its own like sub number. You can still make payments with a tap to pay, But if my card got stolen, the number got stolen, they can't use that account number on the credit card because it's locked in my bank account. I also have my credit card, like if there's more than a $500 charge, I get a text message alert about it. There are tons of things on your banking platforms that you can set alerts to get notified, stuff like that.
How do you get it locked? You go to the bank?
No, like literally I can just log on to my mobile banking on my phone and there's a button to like manage cards. You can see how many cards you have. There's a little toggle button usually that you just toggle lock and it locks it. So if somebody has that account, that card number, they can't use it.
But you could do it at the bank.
I've never personally gone to the bank to do it because you can do it online, but they might be able to either help you set up an online account. I don't know if they can lock your card if you were to walk in person, but that's something that might be able to do.
So you go on the bank website.
Yeah, you can go on your bank website, or if you
bank
have,
card.
yeah, if you have like a mobile banking app on your phone, you can do it through there. That's what I do. It's easy, but like Bruce was saying, like when I log into my Cape Cod 5 account, it automatically is going to send me a verification code that I have to type in to get on to even get on the platform. So that's that multi-factor authentication.
That's a must. Automatic software update, and again, don't click on links, anything false. Shred, yes. So I will shred anything with my personal information such as name and address and anything with financial information. So if I have a bill that comes my way via mail for whatever reason, I am going to go ahead and pay that bill online, but I'm also going to shred that invoice or whatever. And I'm a firm believer that cross-cutting shredder is a lot better than a strip shredder.
Of course.
So a strip shredder is where it just cuts it in like strips. But what criminals are known to do is to piece everything together with glue or maybe some tape to make the document look very, very authentic. So get a cross-cutting shredder. Mine gets overused, I tell you.
Or just bring it out in the fire pit in the backyard and cook some marshmallows.
Yes,
with it.
that's good too. Yes, absolutely.
Now, someone told me that Staples, you can bring papers to Staples and that they'll do shredding. Is that a safe?
Yeah, I don't want to, I don't like to do that. As a matter of fact, I used to live in Framingham until, like 3 years ago. So I've only been a full-time resident in Framingham. I'm in Cape for 3 years with my wife and my dog. But, I did one of those shred events in Framingham, and I'm not a big fan of it because of the fact that I had to wait for my shredding to take place. So there I am, I'm waiting for them to actually put my container into the machine to shred. But, you know, I think there is too many people handling your personal information, your financial information. So it's always better to do it yourself at home. Now, I know that Cape Cod 5, I believe they have shred events that they sponsor.
Yeah.
You know, I don't, I think, and again, I never mentioned this to this audience anyway. At the kitchen table one day, my wife said to me, "You think everything is scam, don't you?" You know, yeah, I do. I'm very, very cautious about it. I pause a lot. And I say, is this a scam or not? Yeah, a fellow AARP volunteer, I told her that story. And he says, well, that's called healthy paranoia. So anyway. Yeah.
So one other thing about the shredding, we've had it happen in town where somebody's been scammed and convinced to put their debit cards in their mailbox that a courier is going to come up because there's an issue with their bank account or whatever, so they're going to get issued new bank cards. So they put their debit cards in their mailbox, and then within an hour had $5,000 charged on their accounts. So if you ever get like your debit card or credit card expires, and sometimes they'll send you like a free mailer, like, hey, mail your credit, don't mail your credit card back to the banks. Just shred them yourself. But yeah, I'll usually do is I'll cut them up as small as I can, and then I'll put a little bit in this trash can and put a little bit in another trash can. So God forbid somebody gets a hold of one bag, they're only going to have part of the numbers and not the entire thing that they could just tape back together.
Yeah, the electric bills, you can cut them up, right? It's just taking
Say that again, please. I'm sorry.
gas or electric bills. You can just cut that up anyway, right?
Yeah, I mean it's the same thing. Like if somebody gets a hold of that, they could pose as EverSource or National Grid if they get a hold of your account numbers on there. So if they get your bill, they could call up and be like, hey, I'm John with EverSource. Doesn't look like you made a payment. I can take a payment over the phone right now, and then before you know it, you've already given the card number, and then off you go.
They can change your address.
Yeah.
And you may not get a bill for quite a while.
Oh, one other thing I want to touch base. Who still uses checks? Checks are a huge thing because you are voluntarily and willingly giving your routing number and your account number to anybody that you give a check to. So quick.
When I write a check, and you only do it like once a month, okay, I have this check, and they won't take credit card. So I do a check. But what I do is I actually walk directly into the post office and do it there. Don't do it by the flag on your mailbox, because that's a warning sign.
Yeah, there's something very important in here.
Right, this is important. Don't, if you're gonna go ahead and send like money, gift cards, or a check, or something of value, don't use that flag there that tells the post office that we're ready for a pickup here. Yeah.
That's all. It's all well and good. I agree completely with Bruce about that. But a case that I had, the guy let a former employee go right before. This was 5 years ago now that it happened. That he reported or let an employee go from his company, and then felt bad because it was right before the holidays. So cut him $1,000 check, just like, hey, buy your kids something nice. Sent the check to him, handed it to him in person, and then 5 years later is coming to the police station reporting that somebody has been stealing he thought he had his personal information stolen, but through an investigation found out that the guy that he gave his check to 5 years ago had his routing number and account number on the check and had set up his phone bills, his gas bill, his car payment, his phone payments, his water bill, utilities, all with that account and routing number that was on the check. Shame on him that it took him 5 years to figure that out. But that was, a couple $100,000 worth of charges that he, doesn't have a good accountant.
Check, so should I convert it all to?
If you can do it electronic, because the way that the electronic stuff, it goes from bank to vendor. And it's, again, they're not giving the vendor your account number. It's going through your bank, and your bank is basically generating a tracking number on their end to verify that that vendor got paid. That is a much safer and secure way to do online payments. Same thing, like if you're still getting hard copy bills in the mail, most utilities nowadays can change that to an e-statement or electronic email statement.
So I know, we've been using, say, bill pay with Bank of America.
Yep.
Then a company wanted to do debit pay, so they automatically take the money every month.
Yeah.
But they had to access, I had to give them information, so.
Yeah, I mean, again, depending like what company is doing the debit pay.
I can't remember.
Either, I mean, like Bill says, you don't want to be like super paranoid about everything, but like the more information that you give access to other people, the likely that, again, it's the same thing. Like when I talked about like the sextortion scams, like I send somebody a picture of me Okay, I sent it to them. I don't know who they're sending it to. Same thing with it. You're sending your account number to this one person at this company, and you don't know where else that information got sent to. So once it leaves your possession, it might go to one person that you think, but it's out there for anybody to get a hold of.
Would you speaking on Apple Pay?
Yeah. So Apple Pay, and if you have like Android device, Google Pay is the opposite or the same thing, but on a different platform. So when you put in your, like, if you go to your Apple Pay, it'll ask you for your card number. So Apple and Android are kind of the two competing cell phone marketing places in the world. So Apple is what we call a closed source information that they are very stringent on who and what they allow on their app platforms. They have to like go through a bunch of different security steps to get on the Apple Store to have products being sold or for free on their App Store. Whereas Google is an open source information that anybody can create an app basically and put it on the Google Store for anybody to use, whether it's a legitimate thing or for nefarious purposes. So with the same thing, Apple Pay, Google Pay, once you load you type in the card number, your expiration date, and the security code, it basically will retain that and then obfuscate it. So if you go to tap to pay somewhere else, like that vendor is not getting your true credit or debit
Except
card.
that Apple Pay changes the identification.
Yep.
Information.
Yeah, so like when I open up Apple Pay right now, if I were to make a payment and then get a receipt, sometimes it'll show you, like if you make a payment with your credit card, it'll say like the last 4 digits of your credit card number. If I make a payment with my Apple Pay and get a receipt, it's going to have a completely different number that's not my credit card number.
So Apple Pay in a store, you can actually use.
Yeah, there's a lot of stores now are doing the tap to pay. It's very secure, so it's encrypted. So your information is encrypted on your phone. It's also encrypted on the payment device. Another reason to have it in Apple Pay and encrypted is because card skimmers are a thing. So somebody could basically put a device on top of another vendor's payment system. So if you were to slide your card or even tap your card, they're going to capture that data. I have a tool that we use for investigations that if we have people will steal credit card numbers, but then they can load them onto blank cards. So we can scan those and find out if a victim's card was used, we can.
That's why I always pay cash for gas. I actually go into the station itself and always pay cash.
Or that's another way.
Skimming, I mean,
Yeah.
it's just
Because that's common at gas
200,000
stations, it
going
could
in.
be easily done.
Yeah, it's happened at gas stations, convenience stores. Another thing, like if you can go, some of them are very sophisticated. They're actually internal, like if take a gas pump, for example, you gotta slide your card in horizontally. Some of them are sophisticated enough where they can slide a device in that slot and it'll stay there. Yeah. You can still slide your card in, so
Reading.
after a day of people sliding their cards in all day, they'll come back, pull it out, and then put it in a computer, and it'll give them all the card numbers that they skimmed off everybody. But like you said, if you have that tap to pay, yeah, they can have the tap to pay code that comes out, but it's not going to do them any good that way.
There's so much information about this.
It's like drinking from a fire hose. I get it. It's a lot to take in.
For common people like me, when I go home, what am I gonna do to fight this?
We'll read this first.
Yeah, I mean, there's good information.
First, but.
Yeah.
Go on if you really want to learn a bit too, go on to the AARP Broadwatch Network online. I don't think you need to create an AARP account. You might get a lot of information there. We put a lot of time into trying to go ahead and keep up to date with everything that's going on.
Like just coming to this today is a step in the right direction because, and I've said it every time I do a presentation, like the audience that I'm talking to and having a conversation with is not the target audience that we need to really reach out to. It's the people that are at home being scammed right now, talking to people. So even you have, take it a little bit away from this today, it's going to give you a little bit more knowledge that when the time comes, or if time comes, hopefully it doesn't, but if it does, that you get a call, you're like, you know what, I don't need to talk to this person today.
So, continuing on, we only got a few more slides left here. HB 1247, House Bill 1247. We're readdressing that a little bit in this presentation, but make it quick. In 2025, the FBI reports that victims lost $390 million through these machines. Now, I suspect that number is low because a lot of scams, so victims who have lost money, a lot of them probably didn't report it. So that's probably a low number. Again, AARP believes that the best and strongest way to protect potential victims is a complete ban of these machines statewide. I think Barnstable County is probably the most protected county in the state, because you're not going to go over the bridge on a Saturday afternoon moving day in the middle of July to go to Rhode Island to put money into a crypto ATM. So certainly not that. And let's see here, the top three entries here, they're in your book. You ever have a problem, you feel as though you've been a victim, call the AARP Broadwest Network Helpline. That number is also in the book. And there's 150 members of the AARP Broad Squash Network that man that line. I know one woman, she worked for AARP, volunteered for AARP Massachusetts. And on a monthly call, she'll tell us about different stories that people have encountered. Oh, I was speaking to this woman and she lost X number of thousands of dollars, or either a romance scam or something to that effect. It's not something that I would really want to do, because I don't think I could really take doing that kind of work, hearing somebody on the other end being victimized. It takes a strong person to be on the other end of the phone and having someone on the other end being in such distress. So AARP broad support, and that's how you can get some information. So AARP and other agencies, and this is not in the booklet, which